Alright, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex. Quickly before we get started, I had did this originally for my podcast channel, which I'm just not doing right now because I would rather put all my focus onto this channel right now. So that's why it's a little bit unstructured. Also, you'll probably tell that my mic is pretty trash. For some reason, my actual microphone didn't pick up, so it just came from my computer. You'll also hear the fan from my computer because my computer is on fire as I was recording it. So I apologize for the lack of quality of the video, but I think I was spitting some facts on these grids, so hopefully you guys enjoy. These are the gradings of the quarter of the season for the Eastern Conference teams. So again, hopefully you guys enjoy, and see you on the next one. We'll get into the Eastern Conference, and we'll start again. We'll start from the top. They got the Brooklyn Nets first. I'm gonna go through this one really quick. They're in the D tier. I think a lot of people expected the Nets to be at least okay as a team. But with everything that's been going on with Kevin Durant, with these crazy quotes about, telling us to look at the starting lineup, obviously you have the whole Kyrie situation, Ben Simmons being there, not really looking too great. He is turning it around a little bit, but just overall, the Nets are just not good at all. Currently, in terms of their record, they are 9-11. They're 14th on the offensive end, 20th on defense, and things have looked a little bit better for them, but they're still bad. So I got them at the D tier. Next one is the Celtics. I don't think I really need to go into this one really all that much either. I have them in the A tier. I think a lot of people were expecting them to fall off, especially with Robert Williams not, being here for majority of the at least the beginning part of the season, and then them missing out on Ime Udoka. But it honestly doesn't matter. They are first in offense and 17th in defense. Tatum looks like a legit MVP candidate. Brown is just getting better. Malcolm Brogdon is a legitimate Sixth Man of the Year candidate. Derek White as well, shooting 43% from three. That's something that they absolutely need out of him. I think at times in the playoffs last year, he's kind of not getting, played off the court because he is a great defensive player, but there's definitely times where it's like, he's not making his threes. Like, this kind of sucks. This is making the offense a little bit predictable in terms of like the Warriors, the double team, right? Tatum and Derek White's open in the corner, right? So then he would have to either shoot it or try to figure something else out. So maybe predictable is a bad word, but you guys see what I mean there. The role players in general for this team have just been really good. The Celtics are 15-4. They're the A tier, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Next, we have the Hawks. The Hawks at the B tier. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray as a pairing are definitely exceeding my expectations so far this season. However, Trae Young, efficiency-wise, is looking a little bit shaky. He's at 53% true shooting percentage. Typically in his career, he's around that 58 to 60% true shooting. I do think that will get better, but he's definitely having a hard time finding a shot. Definitely, not as efficient as he has been. Just as players for Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, those guys are still putting up kind of similar numbers, like they were separate, which I didn't think was going to be able to happen. So shout out to them. John Collins looks like he's going to be on the way out as well. I'm not sure where he may get ended up traded to. Maybe the Suns, maybe the Mavericks, maybe the Nets. I'm not sure. But the Hawks, I think, in general, are having a pretty good start to the season. Next, we have the Bulls, and I have the Bulls at the D tier. Even though I did expect the Bulls to not be as good as they have been, especially last season, a lot of it has to do with Lonzo Ball being out probably for the rest of the season. I think that's still up in the air. He could potentially come back, but even when he does, how good is he going to be? I'm not sure. Zach LaVine, he's been playing okay, but efficiency-wise, he's really not there yet. Makes me worried about his knee because he was dealing with a knee injury towards the tail end of last season, and him, not being as efficient as usual is kind of worrying me. It's made the Bulls have to rely on DeMar a lot, and I know DeMar DeRozan is a good player, but at this point, the Bulls should be leaning into Zach LaVine, and because that's not happening, that's why I have the Bulls as a B tier. We have the Cavs, and for me, I got the Cavs. I have them at the B tier. Our Cavs are 12-7 right now. Fourth in offense and fifth in defense. The starters are absolutely fantastic. I did have questions about who they were going to run at the small forward spot. Karis LeVert has been filling in for this 3 spot, and obviously isn't the greatest defender, but offensively he definitely gives them a little bit more scoring versatility in terms of being able to catch and shoot, but also make his own shot. And that's something I think they need, especially since they have 2 centers virtually on the team. But the reason why I don't have the Cavs at the A tier is because Evan Mobley is just not progressing how at least I expected him. I would assume other people expected him to take another step on the offensive end, but he honestly just kind of looks the same from last season, which is still a very good player. But I definitely think their ceiling grows with him, improving as a player, and that just hasn't happened. So that's why I have the Cavs at the B tier. Next, we have the Hornets, and the Hornets are going to be my first F tier, F grade for the East, and just in the league in general. And a big reason why I think the Hornets are F tier. They're 6-14. They're the worst offense in the league. They're middle of the pack on defense. They're 13th on defense. LaMelo Ball has been out virtually the entire season with ankle injuries. They lost Miles Bridges. That's a huge loss for them because of all the stuff that he was doing in the offseason. Hayward has been just in and out as well with injuries. And I just don't understand. They drafted Mark Williams with a lottery pick. And I believe he's only played in 3 games. And even in those 3 games, he's not playing a lot of minutes. So a team who's going 6-14 and they're not finding minutes for a guy who is a lottery pick and he's supposed to be good, it's very concerning for me. I think also the reason why I give them an F as well is when you just look at the past 2 seasons, they've been in the play-in tournament, and both times they've been blown out. So you would think, okay, LaMelo's progressing. You just bring this team back. They're supposed to get better, and they just look awful. So I think everything has just gone wrong for the Hornets. So that's the reason why I put them at the F tier, honestly. I could see why maybe someone puts them in the D tier, just being a little bit lenient on the injuries, especially to LaMelo Ball. You probably assume that they would look a little bit better with LaMelo, but it's overall been a pretty bad year for the Hornets. So that's why I put them at the at the F tier. But the team I do have at the D tier is the Detroit Pistons. For the Pistons, they're currently 5-16. They are not doing very good at all. They're actually, I think they're either slightly above. No, they're slightly below the Hornets. So you can honestly put the Pistons here at the F tier as well. They're 22nd in offense. They're the worst defensive team in the league. Honestly, I'm actually thinking of putting them in the F tier, but no, I'm not going to do that. So the reason why I was thinking about putting them in the F tier was because I believe that they made moves so that they could not compete for a championship, obviously, but like to, obviously do better than they did last season. They did get Bojan Bogdanovic. They also got Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks. I think those are 2 very good bench players. I thought those guys were actually going to be, good for them, and they have been. They've been pretty good. But again, they're 5-16. Cade is also injured, and I think he's out indefinitely. He could possibly get surgery to the point where he doesn't even come back for the season. I think all those reasons are why they could be in the F tier, but the only reason why they're in the D tier is because I think Jaden Ivey was just a good pick for them. He's averaging 16 points a game. Obviously, efficiency isn't there. I'm not too worried about that. He's a rookie. Just having at least one positive thing that's happened to you this season, I think that just puts you in the D tier. But I could definitely see the argument into, the Pistons being in the F tier. I wouldn't blame you in putting them there. Next up, we have the Indiana Pacers. And this might surprise a lot of you, but I think so far the Pacers deserve an A for how they've started. Right now, they are 11-7. They have the 8th best offense in the league, 18th on defense. And Tyrese Halliburton has been insanely good. He's a 20-11 guy. Like, oh my gosh, really great efficiency. I think Ben Mathurin is a Rookie of the Year and 6th Man of the Year candidate, which is actually crazy to think about. He's averaging 19 points a game off the bench on 44, 42, 80 splits. And this is finally the year that Miles Turner is breaking out. I swear for the past 4 or 5 years, we've been waiting for Miles Turner to break out and, be this like borderline all-star guy. And then these past 2 seasons, at least personally, I've given up on him. I just thought he was who he was. But he's finally breaking out. He's averaging 18 points a game, 46% from 3, 2.8 blocks a game, almost 3 blocks a game. I just think the Pacers deserve this A. I did not expect them to be coming out hot like this. I was not familiar with Ben Mathurin's game at all. He's been an absolute bucket for the Pacers, and he's a great complementary piece next to Halliburton, because Halliburton isn't like a go-to scorer, but Ben Mathurin just goes to score the bucket. So I think he's a great complementary piece next to Halliburton. So I think the Pacers just deserve this A spot. I really do. Next up, we got the Heat. I think I just got to put them in the D tier, man. The Heat are just not starting off the season very well. They're 9-11. They do have the 11th ranked best defense in the league, which is good, but they are 23rd in offense. Couple problems with me on in terms of why they're so bad on offense. Jimmy Butler, again, is just being very passive. The past 2 or 3 seasons, like Jimmy Butler will just seems like he kind of coasts, just not being very aggressive in terms of getting his own points, looking to get his teammates involved, but there's not a lot of depth on this Heat team anymore, so that was able to slide like last season. Like he was able to do that because he had depth to score for Jimmy's lack of aggressiveness to get his own bucket. But because there isn't enough depth, like he needs to be more aggressive on that side of the ball. Bam is still good, but obviously he can always be better. He's very talented. He needs to be able to space the floor out a little bit more. He has taken a couple strides to get there, but still not, to the point where I think he could be. Tyler Hero has also been out with some ankle injuries, so that definitely hurts their offense as well. I think missing PJ Tucker is a big part as well. Right now, they've been having Caleb Martin at their starting power forward spot, and that is just not success. That is not a successful team. Caleb Martin is just not strong enough to hold, players at the power forward position, and he's also not skilled enough to, take advantage of those guys. So it virtually just gets to a point where it's like you're just kind of throwing guys out there and hoping that you guys can get by with it, and it's just not happening. Again, the depth sucks on this team. It's not as good as it used to be. Dwayne Dedman is not that guy as a backup center, but yet he still gets minutes. So I think the Heat definitely have a lot to work on, so I would put him in the D tier for sure. Next up, we have the Raptors. And the Raptors are a team that always surprise people, but currently right now I think they're in the D tier. I do not think they've started the season very well. They are 9-9. They are a 500 team. They're 9th on offense, 15th on defense. Pascal's looked really good. He's averaging 24 points a game, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Really great. OG Anunoby also looks like a potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He's been an absolute menace on that side of the ball. But a big reason why I have the Raptors in the D tier, one, Fred VanVleet just doesn't look very good. He obviously, efficiency-wise, hasn't been great his entire career, but I don't know. It doesn't seem – he doesn't look like he did last season, even though, like, the numbers kind of look similar. It's just different. It feels different. And with Scotty Barnes, it's very similar to Evan Mobley. I just don't think he's made enough improvements in his game. Like I honestly kind of expected him to. The three-point shot is still a problem. So in general, the Raptors have just kind of disappointed me so far. So that's why I have them in the D tier. But, I think this is one of the teams that, will come, halfway through the season and, maybe they improve. So, and I could put them in the C or B tier for sure. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, and this one's quick. It's an A tier. They got Giannis. He's an MVP candidate, of course. They do miss Chris Middleton. They are one of the worst offensive teams in the league, but they're also one of the best defensive teams. Has to do with Drew Holiday, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez has been an absolute beast on that side of the floor. And, just that big three in general, plus Bobby Portis, they've all played really well. And they've been able to, win some good games with their defense. And, when it comes to the fourth quarter, those four guys, come into the game and they're able to just close stuff out with that championship experience. So they deserve that A tier. They're currently 13-5. They're right behind the Celtics, who are 15-4. So I think they definitely deserve that A spot as well. Next up, I have the Knicks. I have the Knicks in the D tier. The Knicks are the main reason why I have the Knicks at the D, giving them a D grade for the quarter of the season is that they made moves this offseason, in my opinion, to not be a middle of the pack team. They got Jalen Brunson. They had all this draft capital. They could have gotten Jalen Duren. They could have gotten someone with that 11th pick, and they traded all those guys so that they can. They obviously got draft capital back, but they traded those guys so that they could get cap space for Jalen Brunson, and they did get him. And Jalen Brunson has been playing really good, but they made these moves to not be mid, and they're still mid. So that's the biggest reason why I have them in the D tier. Also, RJ Barrett again is just putting up lackluster numbers. 20 points a game. Seems fine, but he's still very inefficient. It's just not good enough. I don't know what else to say about the Knicks. They're just not good. Next up, I have the Magic, and I believe I have the Magic at the C tier. Now, you're probably wondering, why do I have, the Hornets are in the F tier, the Pistons are in the D tier. Like, the Magic have very similar win total to those teams. Why are they in the C tier? So The main reason why I have the Magic at the C tier, one, has to do with all of their young talent. They got Franz Wagner, they have Paulo, Wendell Carter has looked really good. Jalen Suggs has actually been a pretty good pull-up three-point shooter. He looks to be improving just very slightly from last season. Bol has been a great pickup for them. Just overall, that team is just great. I really love what they kind of are starting to build over there. My thing is that their record is bad, but when you look at a lot of the games that they lost, they're losing them by like single digits. They're very close games. Sometimes they go into OT, sometimes they don't, but they're still very close games. So even though they are losing a lot of games, these games are very competitive and they have great young talent. So honestly, even though the win total is not there, they're definitely exceeding my expectations. Obviously, I was expecting them to lose, but I didn't think they'd be competitive. That's why I have them at the C tier. I hope you guys can understand that. And for me, the 76ers are another C tier team. With the Sixers, they started off really slow. They're 10-9 now. That they were under 500 for a little bit, but now they're finally over 500. They're 18th on the offensive end. They are the second best defense in the league, which is very good. Embiid is getting better. He had a slow start, but he's getting progressively better. I think he kind of low-key came into the season a little bit out of shape. Just very lazy on closeouts. Like the one game where he had 61 points. He had like 8 blocks, I believe, in that game, or like 7 blocks. That was the best defense I've ever seen Joel Embiid play in a very long time. He was gassed. So he's getting back into that shape. Harden and Maxey are out with injuries, so that definitely does suck. I think that's kind of why I only have them at the C tier. They're still winning games though without those guys. And Joel Embiid missed the game as well, and they still won the game with all their big three out. It was against the Nets. Based off their early start, I actually think I would have put them in the D tier, but they're starting to pick it back up. So kind of similar to the Warriors with the Western Conference rankings. They're getting better. You can see the improvement. So I put them at C tier. They can definitely get higher because they are technically supposed to be like one of the top 3 teams in the East. And right now that's not the case, so that's why I only have them at C. But they are improving. And lastly, very similar to the Knicks, I would say, in terms of just being like an overall mid team. But that's kind of just what I expected. Very surprisingly, though, they have 3 20-point per game scorers. And usually that's a recipe for a lot of winning, but they're only 10-9. And also, 3 20-point per game scores only gets you the 26th ranked offense. I think that shows you that their depth sucks. They don't really have any depth. I would also say that their point guard position, they need to upgrade on that. Monte Morris, I love Monte Morris, but he is not the answer as a starting point guard. He's definitely filled more for a backup role. He is a very solid point guard, but if you are to start him, you just need more playmaking in your starting lineup. So even if you did want to start him, you just need more playmaking. And that's just something that the Wizards don't have. They just don't. Their backup point guard would be DeLon Wright, who is also out with injury. So just things are tough for the Wizards. They are 7th in defense, though. So that is the one redeeming quality. And it's probably the only reason why I would put them above the Knicks is because they do have some sort of redeeming quality about that team. And it is the defense. And a lot of that has to do with Porzingis as well. Porzingis has been able to stay healthy, still average 20 points a game, but still be really good on the defensive end, which, we obviously knew he was a good rim protector. So shout out to the Wizards for, continuing to be a mid team. And that is my Eastern Conference grades for the quarter of the season. So again, let me know what you guys think about the grades that I have here. Do you agree or disagree? Where should I move some teams? Let me know. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, overall, I think these grades are pretty fair. We'll probably do this halfway through the season to see where teams are at that point in the season, see if there's any improvements or, people maybe not doing as good as they were in the beginning. So we'll definitely look back at this. Again, somewhere on the screen, you'll probably see my Twitter handle. It's at BHCT23. You can follow me there on Twitter. I also have a TikTok. Just go to the Linktree link. You'll see everything that's related to me. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.